One match down, 3 more to go for day 2 here at ESL One Manila 2016. We're reporting from the Mall of Asia Arena. And this time it is a chance to take a look at Team Secret versus EHOME. Who gets to keep their run alive here for ESL One? And to kick things off, we have a new guest here at the panel. God's joining us. How are you doing this weekend so far, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. It's great to be back in Manila. The crowd has been absolutely explosive.
Yeah, the crowd's been great. Come on, make some noise for yourselves, guys. Let's go. That's what I like to hear.
Gods,
you deserve it.
Gods, I have a question here. We picked the shirt out for you since you got here a little late. How do you like it?
It's good. You guys
Did we get your
well.
style?
Yeah. I'm taking this home. Hoppe was like, I want to keep this. No.
Yeah, we saw this wrong. We were like, this has God's written all over it. This is him right here. You look good in it, though. And a lot of our fans have been telling us that we've all been pulling it off pretty well. So I'm pretty happy. I was a little afraid, but I think we're doing okay so far in Manila. Well, before we move on, actually, just what did you think about the first match? Let's get your quick thoughts before we go into the analysis of game number 2.
I was pleasantly surprised by just how Mineski brought their A game. I didn't expect them to be as competitive as they were with Complexity, a team who always comes in with a clearly defined strategy. So for Mineski to do as well as they did, it's a great sign moving forward for the team. Yeah,
put up a real solid fight, gave Complexity a run for their money, and now moving forward then, 2 teams to talk about, and the first one, I'm going to bring the spotlight over to Team Secret. They're now fighting for their life. I mean, given the names on that team, and of course the team name itself, not something that a lot of people were perhaps expecting coming in to this group.
Yeah, they really weren't expecting it at all, but they had a little bit of a tough road. They lost a bunch of games, and they had some weak performances on a couple players that you normally don't see. Universe had 2 rough games, and normally he's arguably the best player in every single team, but hopefully just a bad day. I think they can definitely turn things around and have a good series.
Yeah, we actually have the Secret players stepping off the stage after setup, but the crowd is just going wild at seeing.
You think they're going to be loud for Mineski? They're going to be loud for Team Secret.
Yeah, things are getting a little crazy out here right now, and the energy this time perhaps in favor. I mean, this is like, we say players are rock stars, but like this right here proves it. You guys can probably hear it through all of our mics, but the crowd all standing up before they haven't even been introduced yet. They're walking out to do the walk-in. Like they haven't even done a walk-in yet, and the crowd going crazy for Secret. You can see them getting ready to commence the festivities. Ben, what are your thoughts? Again, I mean, a little bit of a rut, it looks like, for Secret, but do you think, that one night after tomorrow, they're going to be able to pick it back up against EHOME today?
There's one glaring statistic for me when I look at Team Secret is that they've only played 3 games after the major. And our last ESL event, where I think Vega did really, really well, they had played by far the most games. But they have played 3 games since the major. The average for teams is about 30 for teams attending this event. So,
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, three games to figure things out against other teams who have had rosters that have been working out for a little while. Yeah, it's a little tough, but it's time to find out. Before we jump in, of course, we had a chance to speak this time to Eternal Envy, see what his thoughts are on Team Secret here at ESL One Manila 2016.
I think people put a lot of expectations on us, and honestly, it doesn't really matter because I think we put the same stronger expectations for ourselves. It's hard to tell what the differences are between this Secret and last Secret because we haven't played a tournament together yet, and that's when it really matters. But so far, it's just the way we talk about heroes is a bit better than how we did it before. Playing Arteta again, he's a pretty funny guy outside the game. So it's quite enjoyable hanging out with him. Inside the game, we still have to work on how we communicate with each other because he makes stronger calls than Weha does. So we still have to adjust to that because there's another mind on the team. It's great that there's someone who understands the game very well.
All right, overall, nothing weighing them down too much. I mean, they're looking at it pretty realistically, it looks like, at least from Envy's point of view, feeling pretty good at least about working with this team and the lineup here for Team Secret. Now then on the other side, EHOME. I mean, what's the expectation here for them against Secret? Is it simply to try to put up a good fight? Or given Secret's performance yesterday, do you think EHOME's coming in and people are actually looking at them maybe favorably?
I think the 2 teams are in a pretty similar position coming in with recent roster shuffles. They've got these kind of mix of players that are close to what could be considered dream teams. You look at EHOME and the players they picked up, they kind of almost like handpicked their roster from some of the better players from the different teams post-Shanghai Major where the Chinese scene kind of fell apart. So for me, it's an EHOME team who don't come in as heavy underdogs. Maybe there's more expectations of a team like Secret just because of the star power and the brand of some of their players. But looking at what the two teams can accomplish, EHOME had a rocky start, so did Secret. So it's really which team is going to kind of come out firing first here in this best of 3.
Yeah, Ben, do you agree? Just a toss-up at this point. Whoever kind of takes the lead maybe runs with the momentum.
I think that EHOME have played a lot more games, and the expectations haven't really been met yet. They dropped the series 3-0 versus a newbie. They've lost to a lot of other teams in the Chinese region, and we expected them to come out on top very, very quickly in their own home region, and they just haven't really been able to perform on a global stage or a local stage.
All right, Kevin, what about your thoughts on this EHOME lineup real quick?
I think it just comes down to in-game synergy, really. I think both teams are they went home last night and they said, this is our last chance. If we don't play well against this great team, then we're just gonna get knocked out. So it's all gonna come down to getting rid of the pressure, making sure your drafts are fairly standard, don't do anything too weird, and just play the best that you can. And they have to synergize and they have to play at their full talent. And they've all got good talent. There's 10 players that are amazing, but they have to work together and they have to play better than their opponents.
All right, well, thanks so much for your thoughts. We'll have some more time to break down, of course, once we go into the draft too, and after the first game, maybe we'll have a little bit more material to talk about. Before, though, the players enter, it's only fair that we also hear from EHOME side what they're feeling overall about their team. I know, but let's hear from Ice on EHOME here at ESL One Manila.
I'm not really sure if the Chinese teams are going to reclaim the top spot in Dota 2 because it's only when the next major is coming where you're going to see who are the top teams. And after the Shanghai major, every Chinese team seems to be really, really hardworking compared to before the Shanghai majors. So I'm pretty surprised by this. The difference about this lineup and OVG Gaming would be that everyone listens and respects the coach. So it's really nice to have a coach guide your way and sort of undo your errors. My expectations for this tournament would be for my team to play as a team, be it we win or lose. I'm happy losing if my team played like a team, and I'll be happier winning if we played really well together as a team. So it's not really about winning or losing, it's more about getting the chemistry together and get it right.
All right, Ice with his thoughts. The crowd all getting riled up. We just saw EHOME also getting ready backstage to enter the stadium, to enter the arena to see how they face off against Secret. Then, I mean, hopefully by the time we get into the game, we'll be able to see all this pan out. But in terms of draft, then anything special that you're expecting? Or again, I mean, just given what we've seen so far this weekend or yesterday, do you think it's going to follow suit for these two teams?
I think it might be a little bit weird from the Secret perspective. I feel like Puppy oftentimes goes for things that are slightly unconventional for the current meta. Like, for example, yesterday he picked Dazzle with a Wisp combo. And it's great for healing, and it's great for keeping somebody alive, but then you have two heroes that don't provide very much damage individually, and it puts a lot of crux on somebody else not being countered. So as long as he shies away from some of those weirder drafts, I think there's a much better chance that Secret has a good game. I think they just need to go for standard picks, semi-follow what everybody else is doing. I feel like Puppy understands the game just as good, if not better, than almost every other team. So pick more standard, go in it with an even playing field, and hopefully they can take a win that way.
And I think standard picks, but watch out for being too greedy, because I think at some of the games yesterday we really saw where they picked like 3 greedy core heroes who all need a lot of farm, a lot of space, and then it doesn't work. When you have Arteezy as well as Envy on the same team, both players who kind of coming out of the carry role, Arteezy's still adjusting to mid, they need to make sure they have that tempo controller hero who's going to be able to get out on the map, be active, and get something done, because otherwise there's not going to be enough. The game's being played at such a fast tempo now that having this kind of slow-paced, farm-oriented play doesn't work.
All right, Ben, what about you? Would you agree with all of that?
Yeah, I think this in combination with the fact that a lot of Secret success at the last major was due to having a jungle hero. So you have 2 greedy cores, one in your safe lane, one in your mid lane, and then you have someone who likes to, we see like Jungle Doom very, very often. We see Enigma a fair amount too. Like all these heroes require a lot of farm, and Secret's actually one of the few teams that have a higher win rate on Radiant as opposed to Dire, and that was because a lot of people haven't figured out how to actually deal with the junglers yet. But now it's just like, oh, well, they just take greed like way too far now, and if they can tone it back a little bit and fight a little, maybe as much as some of the other teams, then I think they can win.
All right, well, fans, they're getting restless over here for all sorts of different reasons, whether it's the patch or the players about to walk in here for the next game. But this is the elimination match for Group B. our director got real scared because he thought I was going to throw the player intro, but
You weren't going to, though, right?
I wasn't going to. You know, I was testing it out. I was testing the waters.
You're
but
better.
I wasn't going to do that. I'm a professional. I do my job well. But the players almost already. I know I'm just baiting everyone along, but it will happen at some point. I can promise you that. We will see this game at some point today. Maybe.
Maybe Monday.
Yeah, now that I said that, it's like, sometimes you can't really promise that when it comes to esports. But again, the elimination match, best of 3. Then now that we've kind of touched upon, you know, as generically as we can before we see the details as they pan out in this specific matchup, do you raise anyone's hand in favor going into this matchup, Gods?
It's really hard to call. I think Secret, because they're such a new team, I always give a slight edge to EHOME. And I think something that Daryl ISSI's really highlight is the importance of the coach. Both teams have some of the best coaches in Dota. You have 1437 on the side of Team Secret. You have 7-1 on the side of EHOME. This, in some ways, as far as how important the draft is, could become a battle of the coaches, the 6-man who doesn't get talked about enough. And I think EHOME, coach-wise, maybe don't have an edge, but I think the fact they've played more matches, have had more time to work around their coach, so their coach can give them that clear direction, gives them an edge to me.
You know, I was going to go the opposite way because Secret did obviously have a good performance at Shanghai. They figured out the meta slightly better than Liquid did. So I feel like despite the meta being slightly different than it was then, there's small adjustments in heroes being played. I really feel like they're going to be able to push that like they did there and have better performance. And I would say that individually they have the better players as well. And the Chinese scene recently has been kind of stagnating a little bit, at least the last 4 months or so. So maybe their practice hasn't been quite as good. Maybe Secret scrims all the time and we don't know about it. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, they have been a team for a very short period of time, but you never know. I think they have more potential.
Yeah, it's very hard to call. Like, both of these teams had to adjust to very new captains, too, right? Like, RTZ and Universe both used to playing for PBD for quite some time.
Right.
And, like, Fenrir and FY no longer together. So you're going to have a lot of decision-making in game that just wasn't as fluid as it was before. And which team can adapt faster?
Well, it sounds like, I mean, at the end of the day, it sounds like it's just going to come down to this one best of 3, regardless of what we kind of pull in terms of stats, especially also given the changes recently to Secret. I mean, it just comes down to we have to wait and see, right? We have to wait and see how it pans out for this roster. But overall, it seems like I mean, you guys were cheering super loud for Secret, but I'm sure a lot of you guys also want to see EHOME play, right? I always get scared when I do that as a host.
Yeah,
I'm like, you want to see EHOME play, right? It's like, I don't.
This is the one city in the world you don't have to be scared, I think. Like,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I love the crowd here. I'm so jealous. Like, you guys are great. Say anything. Well,
Who
guess
wants
what?
to see Chobra host?
Guess what? More than that, players are ready. So let's introduce the 2 teams. It's going to be the elimination match of Group B.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for this match? Let me hear you. Are you ready? Let's show them how loud the Philippines can get. Make some noise for some hype, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do this. First up, let's meet. Give a round of applause to EHOME. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to EHOME making their way to the stage. Here they are, ladies and gentlemen. Show some love for Team EHOME, ladies and gentlemen. Show some love. Woo! Thank you. Up next, a lot of hype. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even have to tell you how loud you need to get. Make some noise for Team Secret. Here we go. best teams in Dota going at it here in Manila. Ladies and gentlemen, Team Secret joining us on stage. EHOME, Team Secret, ESL One Manila, Philippines. We're about to do this. Make some noise. Let's get this started, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Back to the desk. Thank you.
All right. If you were not watching until this entrance, you would think this was the grand final. Like,
Yeah.
that was a setting for the grand final. But the shocking part is they're playing for their lives to stay in this tournament, Secret and EO, and that just speaks to the players that are here, the legacy that's here on the stage, all 10 players put together. And everyone here, I'm sure everyone around the world watching right now, kind of eager to see who does get another chance and maybe even try to make that run all the way to the finals, because that's what it felt like right now as they walked in.
Yeah, they kind of handle their player walk-ins like they drive here. They just ignore the lines, and it's every man for himself. Like, just people in the way. Envy almost died. Did you guys see that? It was, he had to cover his eyes.
The players, I don't think they're putting their hands up to give high fives. They'll try to like cover their face.
It's like, don't touch my face.
I mean, it's quite an experience, but like you said, it just speaks to the crowd here too. Awesome energy, but it's, you know, as he gets settled in, as soon as all the players are stationed at their pods, we will be jumping right into the draft for game number 1. We already talked about kind of what you guys expect as the panel here going into this game overall, just how maybe things pan out on both sides, because again, it's hard to put these in relativity for now, right? These two teams and the state that they're in, we just have to see how it pans out.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just so little match footage of the new Team Secret. So coming to this one, the draft is going to be kind of key as far as where things are going to, as far as what Secret are going to change. Because I think a big problem yesterday was very much the direction they took with their drafts. And for EHOME, the play, they didn't look like they were playing as a team. They had Ice who had a bout of food poisoning. So they're kind of trying to get through everything. It's really going to be whether a new Team Secret's going to show up today, whether a new Team EHOME's going to show up today.
Yeah.
Big cheers for Arteezy.
Yeah, Arteezy, of course, look worldwide. I mean, all the players here on stage right now on the screen. In-house, we see Puppy, Universe, Puppy getting a lot of cheers too. And who couldn't cheer for Puppy? I mean, with the reputation that he has, like as an individual player, just what he's gone through, regardless of what other, you know, whether you have qualms about him, whether it's certain plays or not, you look at it as a whole, you look at his resume, and you gotta give it up to him, right? You gotta give him a cheer, you gotta give him an applause, because he deserves it as he stands here leading this Team Secret to see how they fare at ESL One Manila. Again, a first kind of big test for this roster, see how they do, and maybe a good opportunity, like a good setting for them to test it out and see how they can work this out and move on forward as a team.
I like that they occasionally come into a LAN and test the roster out leading up to the major, rather than just, I mean, they're a good enough team that they could easily just, I think, dance from major to major potentially and just ride those invite waves. But I like that they're giving it some practice leading up to it, especially due to, I mean, they even agreed to this before they roster swapped, and they still got to come with it. So I'm happy to see them testing it out, and it's a great treat for fans to watch as well.
Yeah. Ben, what about you? I mean, now on the side, we keep talking about Secret. I mean, sure, you can't help, especially with the changes that have come in. The spotlight's kind of been on them. But EHOME, again, like eyesight size of the food poisoning, sure, whatnot. But do you agree that it was more so their play within the game, or also there's some other strategic changes they might need to make?
Well, we've seen a couple of role swaps. I guess Arteezy from safe lane to the middle lane, and more importantly, Ice from the off lane to a different role. And I think like off laner this patch, you can't really play as risky as Ice does. Like I know him for like being just very, very aggressive. Doesn't really matter where he is or what he is. Like even his like farming Nagos, like pretty aggressive, just like up in your face all the time. And I think like having him on support is a real big benefit to his playstyle and something that they can utilize a lot. But they're still trying to find the best heroes to pick for him, best way to play it around him.
Yeah, I think Ice Ice Ice, I think like Space Creator or Tempo Controller. He used to be able to do that from the offlane, and I agree it's getting harder to do that, but he's now playing heroes like the Chen, coming out from the jungle, going for the early rotations, and being able to dictate the flow of the game a lot. The other player actually swapped roles is Lan Em. He's moved over from the support to the carry role. He's still kind of the drafter and kind of the head of this team as far as the in-game leadership goes, and he's done a really good job transitioning there, and he's a player who's definitely impressed me.
Yeah, it's fun to see teams do that support to core role. It's almost always in the history of Dota, it always goes from core down to support, and then they sit there. It's always from quick carry down, but a lot of teams have been swapping it out. Same with Fnatic as well, doing an occasional swap. So fun to see them change things up a bit.
I think Lan Em takes much less risks in his play, which
Really?
makes him much, well,
I
compared
feel like
to...
he roams all the time in some games. Like games he's played like Gyrocopter, he leaves the lane after like 3 minutes.
Yeah, I see him like TP rotate very. He wants to be active and involved. I think it's
I think
part of
active involved, but like he doesn't take risks. He's not like
Okay.
tower diving constantly. He doesn't have like 10 deaths a game.
He's not like a Hao or Havas type carry who's going to die for kills.
Right. I
but-
think it's probably a little bit better suited for him. Like in support role, you don't really care. I mean, you obviously want to limit your deaths, but
Yeah, I mean, you care a little
die,
bit.
not die. Which one do I want to go
but you can't really create space if you don't put yourself out there. And Lan Em, I don't really feel like when he played Pugna, for example, he was just always sitting in the back, just throwing down blasts, throwing down wards, never really putting himself in a position where if he dies, other teams can capitalize, or his own team can capitalize on it. But I think as a core rule, it's much better and safer for him and his team.
They're actually two very different teams because Lanham's like going to look to TP and help his team more, whereas Envy doesn't really TP and rotate as much as Lanham does. So I feel like there's going to be very much a clear kind of clash in playstyle, at least between the two carry roles.
So I think the way that those intersect is basically whether or not Lanham's successful with his rotations, because even some of the games yesterday where Secret got shut down and Envy got shut down, he still had the top net worth. It kind of blew my mind a little bit. He was still farming so rapidly, and he still kept his team in the game. So if he has a mediocre game, he's going to out-farm. If Lanham doesn't get successful rotations off, then it's just going to be a huge gold advantage going for Secret, and they can easily push that with their good strategy.
All right, well, we're just about ready to go into the draft. And meanwhile, you keep hearing our thoughts here from the panel. All of you guys at home, especially, I mean, we can hear what the crowd thinks here, but from home, let us know what you think about, especially this match coming up. Team Secret, how will they fare against EHOME? Also coming in, fighting for their lives. Hashtag ESL One on social media. You can let us know. You can predict who's going to win and tell us who picked the best Barong, who looks best in the Barongs here out of all the talent. You can exclude me because I'm not talent here. I'm just sitting here making sure the show runs. These guys are here to tell you their thoughts. So let us know, share all your opinions about this event as we get ready for elimination match in Group B, EHOME versus Secret, a best of 3. Earlier, we did see Mineski unfortunately getting knocked out with a 1-2 score, putting up a good fight against Complexity and maybe flustering them a little bit. And here we go, draft for game number 1.
Bounty is out, so the Chen and Chant are open, and harder to punish as well.
Yeah, and for Secret, you take away the lone druid, which was Old 11's hero that won EHOME, the lead-up tournament to the previous major, the Shanghai major in MDL. So it's just kind of respect bans when you don't quite know exactly. You're versing a team you haven't versed in a long while. They're going to draft differently because these teams don't really ever meet except on an international LAN stage. So you just want to ban out kind of signature heroes here in the early game stage.
And we may see some heroes pop up for either team that the other one doesn't normally experience. For example, in the Chinese scene, there's been some Veno resurgence as a core. We could see something like that squeak through and really upset the balance on a Wisp ban in the first round. Common pick for Secret, but for that to get banned in the first round, it's going to leave a lot of other things open. Nature's Prophet, Chen, Enchantress, a lot of heroes that we see in a lot of games, not to mention the typical Invoker, Doom, etc. that are really popular.
Earth Spirit going to be the ban from Secret, so now the first pick going over to you, and Doom right away locked in.
Do they really pick Wisp that much, though? I find it strange that you actually first ban it versus Secret, because I think they're actually one of the teams that don't play Wisp very often.
I mean, they did play yesterday, and they put some strategies around it.
Yeah, I just think like historically though, I mean, Pilot has played it a decent amount, but
it's always been a backup strategy more for Team Secret. Like it's never been a bread and butter. Like okay, first stage, let's get Wisp. They'd rather go for like the Puppy Chen or other heroes.
Maybe they're worried about the gameplay change that it forces you to play under.
Right.
I mean, you have to fear, oh, I can't farm anywhere on the map by myself as a support because they can always TP there. That's a huge threat.
it's also pretty good versus the Doom.
That's true because it saves them.
Yeah, it makes more sense after seeing the first pick. But before that, I was like, why Wisp?
Well, drafting more to their strengths right now for EHOME, but that, like you guys said, left his Prophet open. Invoker, of course, slipping through once again. picked up by Secret, and now ball's back in EHOME's court.
It's been a while since we've seen an Artesian Invoker.
Not if you watch the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those have been a bit hit or miss.
I really like Universe's Nature's Prophet as well. He's generally a very conservative player, but that's going to lead to getting lots and lots of items. So as you get to the late game scenarios, he'll be able to output that in really good ways.
I almost feel like he may need to change his playstyle and be less conservative, though, because you look at what their big problems yesterday is like they've got Arteezy farming mid and OD, Envy's farming safe lane. They need one of those three players needs to just go start fighting, and Nature's Prophet can do that.
Yeah.
So I like the hero for him, but I don't think he wants to play conservative. I think he wants to be very active, TPing around, trying to get involved early, setting a fast tempo, because otherwise EHOME will just walk all over them.
It's a really good point. You can't just leave it up to just the supports to space create setup ganks. Sometimes it has to be the offlane as well. So like you said, 2 carries and another casual farming offlaner that goes to team fights. There's not enough space happening.
After their pick, Enchant, another hero that's been mentioned as priority, now this time being banned out in the second phase for EHOME.
I'd be careful for it, Nyx, if I were Team Secret. I think Nyx is like really good versus Invoker and NP, and especially with the Bounty Hunter being banned out. You want a hero that can catch both of those two, and it's also pretty decent at protecting your Death Prophet. We saw it ran, yesterday by Wings, I think? Death Prophet plus Nyx.
Yeah, right now EHOME need that kind of reversing guy, like you say, the Invoker Prophet, whether it's a Nyx, you need some kind of catch. Batrider also another hero we've seen them play a bit. They've even run Batrider in the safe lane for LANM. So this is a team who's very willing to do some kind of unorthodox picks in different roles than you'd normally see.
Definitely like Bat versus NP and Invoker. It's pretty successful there. As long as you don't get cold snapped, then you're pretty much dead.
I think the key thing when you have a Death Prophet and you want to push down towers is you do need some threat of an initiator to keep your opponents away from defending that tower. So having a Batrider type hero always works well there.
Definitely a good point.
So EHOME successfully banning out Wisp, Enchant, and Shen, taking that all off the board.
I mean, they could still go something like Enigma. Still a little iffy against heroes like DP and Doom, but I would give them a good jungling advantage. You can also rotate and take towers. They're decent at, quite good at towers right now. They've got Invoker summons and Nature's Prophet summons. Maybe they go all in, more summons. How many summons is too many? That's a real question.
Well,
Doom can only eat one of them, you know, like, how do you stop it?
that's what you call the Alchemist. Then any summons is summons too many.
That's true.
So you're saying they should pick Brood, right?
Just go all the way.
Beastmaster is still in the pool.
It's a bit surprising, to see Beastmaster not grabbed. Vision is being prioritized a lot by all the teams so far.
Unlikely Secret will grab it, obviously, because they have Prophet, but it's definitely a good hero against the heroes in the pool.
One thing that's strange to me about Secret is that they actually haven't been playing Ursa that much. They tried it once at the major, and ever since then they haven't tried it again. For a team that likes to do Roshan a lot, it's very surprising that they don't utilize that in their toolkit. I wonder if they're gonna shift.
This is not a bad game for it. It's pretty good against DP and Doom. If they're semi-locked down and you get on top of them right away, you can kill them pretty rapidly. We go with the staple Pili Die Lion though. Max out Hex after the Earth Spike gives them tons of great disable in the mid game, while also providing mana for allies. And ooh, all right, no more summons.
You know, they picked this.
Abandoned ship.
They picked this hero 5 times actually. It's not. It shouldn't be surprising at all that EHOME picked up Winter Wyvern. They've used that 5 times. They used Clinks 4 times. They've used Weaver 4 times too. So they are slightly outside of the norm when it comes to some of their picks.
Come on, versus an Invoker though, like he's gonna Sunstrike. You've got a Lion on top of that.
I think it's more for the anti-push. I think like the way they play around the Nature's Prophet is like TP, get a kill, push the lane, and then Winter Wyvern there with the Winter Blast is just exceptionally good versus the summons.
Yeah. Not so great against Forge Spirits though. Pretty good against the Treants, but
yeah, you can go like a 4-4-1 though, I think. And also the summons work against yourself too with the Winter's Curse.
it's true.
I think it also sets up for like a really nice silence. It's not a great combo, but it's still nice. You can get like 3 people in the silence with Death Prophet.
Plus, either way, Cold Embrace with Death Prophet is amazing because she has so much HP that the Sunstrike is not going to even offset the regen you get from it. So really good utility there. Couple that with like a Yule's as well, then she's not dying for 8 seconds or so, and the damage she deals can be really incredible.
Yeah, and Secret have like tended to not pick up defensive supports. They used to, always have like the Dazzle or something like that. And Winter Wyvern is like really great at just nailing an Invoker or something really, really quickly.
I mean, they did pick a Dazzle yesterday, but I think they may shy away from that after that experience.
We're going to pick up Puppy's Earthshaker as the roaming option here.
I haven't seen that in a while from Puppy. Very passive in most cases. They're going to have two supports that both need Blink Daggers. Usually Secret does rotate Eternal Envy out of the safe lane really early, head him to the jungle, and then Lion will take the safe lane farm. They do this consistently for a long period of time. So I expect we'll see something similar. Puppy will then essentially have to be the greed until, or at least be poor until he gets the Blink Dagger hero. But I'm not too worried about Lion, so I think they can make this work.
I think it's very much they recognize that EHOME's playstyle is going to be they're going to be the aggressors most likely in this matchup, so they want to have that defensive support to kind of counter-initiate with, or at least throw a fissure, disengage, and then you keep like a core hero alive.
It's pretty good against a DP. I mean, she's fast, but you can fissure block off. If she ulties, you fissure, you get away. That's hugely valuable for your team. So I would agree. That sounds pretty good. Plus more magic damage, you can burst on Winter Wyvern targets if you really need to.
I think both of their supports that have troubles dealing with a Doom. Like Doom with Scorched Earth, like you don't really want to blow a fissure on them. The only thing they really have is Cold Snap for them. So I think the Doom kind of trumps those two supports at the moment.
Yeah, this top lane for EHOME can cause a lot of problems. You have a Doom +1. That's where and the Darkseer is banned out, so that option isn't there. But this Doom could be a full position, and you get some just kind of pesky offlaner to really just harass down the two supports. But Lion Earthshaker, yeah, very much. I feel like that could be a big problem as far as Envy securing farm against a Doom.
It is scary on picks, but I feel like Secret is one of the best at zoning offlane heroes. I feel like Pile Dies very often prioritize boots. He's extremely good at kiting the offlane hero. Even when they go boots as well, I've seen him outlane people and keep them level 1 for a long time. So I have a lot of confidence that Secret's can be able to do this even though there is a Doom. The scary part is if it's like Winter Wyvern Doom or Ranged Disabler plus Doom and they get caught out of position or something.
They picked Bristleback yesterday, and they're going to head that direction again. Great against all the summons with all the quill sprays you can stack up. And just, again, a fast-paced carry for Lanham. We're not seeing him on these more greedy, late-game-oriented ones.
I'm happy to see Bristleback is a strength hero. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was noting. I was like, you didn't know.
Oh, thank you. Got him. So I'll tweet at Pimpmunkle for that one. This full.
All right, well,
yep, confirmed. There it is. He always gives you a little bit of sass when you make fun of him. That's how I knew. Winter Wyvern Intelligence, thanks, Pimp.
So what are we looking at for both teams? Anything blatantly missing this time for Team Secret as they looked around out there? Oh, wow, they're just going to go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, well, this is the Team Secret we saw at the Major, pulling out the Joe Ranger and catching teams by surprise.
It's pretty good. They don't really have a frontliner, but they've got an Earthshaker, which is kind of a pseudo way to rotate that out. It's not a hero that's good against Winter Wyvern because of Cold Embrace, but once Cold Embrace only lasts like 4 out of the 19 possible cooldown seconds, so once that's gone, they can blow up Death Prophet super fast. It's gonna be a tough game for Death Prophet, I think. Bristleback's gonna be all right, but the other heroes, I'm a little worried about their survivability.
On the flip side, though, Winter's Curse is just really good. Draw Ranger and her teammates can just blow her up.
They needed a gap close, and they're going to pick up that right. It's like Bristleback can try and run in against this drop, but at some point they're just going to kite you around. They throw the Fissure, the Impale, and you're just going to get taken out. So.
All right, well, the draft is done. We heard the thoughts here, but we'll see how it pans out. It's Secret versus EHOME, game number 1 to see who takes the lead and keep their hope alive at ESL One Manila 2016. Commentators, take us into the game.
That's right, Secret versus EHOME, a match that before this tournament, many could have expected would happen in the upper bracket. Here we see them instead in an elimination match. EHOME, of course, relative success within the Chinese scene, but I say relative in that they have to prove themselves against their brethren in VGR and LGD who have also had success. They need a win here to be able to really secure that. But of course, Secret, this is their first match. Their first match, or their first tournament as a team is this fresh roster that everyone is so hyped about, a big all-star lineup, but this crowd raising them up is really only going to increase the fall if they prove disappointing results going out first. Jacob, Blitz?
It's well, the new roster of Secret obviously with much more limited success than EHOME, but yeah, I think EHOME needs to prove, especially with the Manila Major coming up, they have something to prove, right? Especially when Wings is in the winner bracket, or rather, they won their first game. So in that regard, I do think EHOME needs to prove themselves with their roster of old players.
Blitz, what are your expectations here from this draft? We have Secret running with the Draw Ranger strat that came out last pick. Do you think EHOME, are they in real danger here of being run over by a Draw Ranger strat like this?
There's always the possibility when you have these kinds of lane setups, especially when you get the Invoker, the Draw, he can really just snowball to a win, and it's a really easy way to play around. And I know Secret for a fact, it's kind of just the way that they want to play, where they can win the lane, snowball off of the individual skill, and then make plays together. This time around, I think the draft adjustments that they made from game 1 and game 2 from yesterday are a lot better. Now they have disables. They don't solely have to just rely on the Nyx Assassin or the Tidehunter. This time around, they bring Puppey with the Earthshaker. You've got the Lion, and it just feels like they have more big play heroes now.
Team Secret rushing into their rune at the top lane. You can see a clean split here. What is the plan for some of our rotating heroes? We have Puppey on the Earthshaker. Obviously, his impact is going to be need to felt in the mid lane. Death Prophet's not the easiest hero to go up against in the mid lane.
It's not, but it's just as much to just create the space that an Invoker needs, potentially even just sitting behind him. But I don't think there's a lot of roam coming out on the middle lane, so it's going to be pretty farm-orientated for the first part of the game. I think both sides are also going to be fairly happy with that. They don't really want to, I mean, they want to win the lane with Bristleback, but that's about it.
A specialty here, Old 11, he's done this a time or two before, pulls the lane from behind the tier 1 tower and secures himself what could be a fast level 2. See whether or not our support is able to output any denies.
I think what's interesting about the draft is that I don't think EHOME expected the Invoker pick. When you're a Chinese team and with Chinese players, going to players' individual streams isn't when they're international players streaming on Twitch, for instance. It's not the natural thing to do. They do have Ice in the roster, though.
Already, Old 11 is going to be hexed up by Pylite Dine. There's not much follow-up there without the secondary disable. In fact, Old 11 is now challenging Pylite Dine, runs into him, meets a tango, and runs right back.
They're just poking and prodding right now. I think this is just the feeling out process for most teams where it's game 1. Both teams didn't expect to probably be here just because of the history that both teams have. And Fissure doesn't connect mid, at least the block anyways. But it is going to force Old Chicken to use the salve. And with this drawer especially, it looks like the Invoker should do pretty well for himself.
Yeah, they really seem to be setting up our tour for success. We saw some of that from the previous series, that they do like to make sure that our tour has a good time in this mid lane. And despite going up against a Death Prophet between the Draw Ranger aura and the Earthshaker, it seems the helping hand will be enough for our tour to at least draw even. So far, CS pretty close.
Right now, this draw not really going to get contested too much. The Doom is now going to make his way up here, but it's hard to open up on this, especially when you don't know where the Earthshaker is guaranteed in mid lane.
Just like that, Old Chicken, he moves forward with the Spirit Siphon. A 3-man game with the Sunstrike is going to be able to land, and Old Chicken tries to juke his way through the river, but it's not going to happen. Our tour, he gets the first blood.
Really well done by Secret overall. In the last series that we saw when they played against Empire, it really felt like they weren't able to get Universe involved. And I know, Jacob, you were a little bit disappointed with his performance in general because it just felt like he wasn't playing a part of the team. But this time, setting up for the first blood, making that rotation.
I think it's safe to say it was probably one of the worst games that Universe has ever played in his entire career. So yeah, being disappointed is putting it mildly, actually. So for Secret to come out guns blazing in this one is important also for him, I think. Having the debut on this star-studded roster.
The rotations and Secrets so on point. The Sunstrike blows up the Batrider, but still, to get the kill on the Lion. Secret are trying to punish EHOME every single time they play aggressive like that. Old Chicken, he's going to be thinking twice the next time he tries to move forward and Spirit Siphon up the Invoker like he did. And now the top lane, even the Batrider is going to be questioning himself if he starts trying to harass the Lion back.
I guess the downside for this is that even though the Batrider got the XP there, he's not really contesting Eternal Envy, and it's making Doom's job even harder because Ice, he wants to get in this lane and contest it as much as he can. So whenever the Bat is dead or just not on the deck, it sort of just slows down his timings. Old 11 does have the stack to go back to, though, and he's already got Trinkle Boots completed, too.
Yeah, he's pretty farmed. I like the initial trick with the Firefly where you just pull the wave. Some Batriders go for the sticky napalm instead, just because they're afraid that if you end up with the Firefly, you can't go back to the lane.
A fight over the rune. Pylai Die going to be hit by the Spirit Siphon. The Fissure is going to separate the two, though. And Old Chicken is just going to have to suffice with just an Illusion Rune to be picked up. Still no bottle for him. The bottle rune is going to be tagged by Fenrir.
But even with Secret being ahead at this point, I think it also, even if this was a stalemate, if this was just maintaining status quo, that would benefit them. Getting farm and levels is all they want right now.
What about our bottom lane? We haven't talked about it too much. Universe against Lonham's Bristleback. Once again, EHOME continuing the trend of picking up really aggressive carries for Lonham.
I think it's difficult for Universe to fully contest this lane. You're not going to get a lot of denies or anything like that, especially since the Bristle's been largely left alone. But he's still going to get his, and most importantly, this hero depends mostly on the rotations more than it does the pure laning phase. Your laning phase is always going to be above average because of the Nature's Call when it comes to dealing with supports, but it doesn't even look like they're focusing too much on this lane, which...
Good cross, a tour, going to be ganked up by Ice and Fenrir. There's no way out for him here. Drops the Sunstrike at the last second, but it's not even close to landing in EHOME. They split ways, Ice heading deeper into the jungle. It's actually going to get a ward behind the Tier 1 tower for potentially more dives in the future.
I think part of that was set up too, just because the bottom lane was pushed in, and the Nature's Prophet was
11, you had to be careful against the Drow Ranger. Those Frost Arrows not letting the Batrider escape. And once a quick breather now.
That rotation from the Nature's Prophet, that makes all the difference right there, is they're able to pick up the kill, they get it onto Puppey, and he's definitely one of the few players, even playing the 5 position, where you want him to try to get as much farm as he can just because of his potential for the big plays.
Yeah, exactly. Earthshaker with levels and a quick blink, or even just arcane boots to even out the lanes and be able to spam without going back. It's really beneficial. And then to go back to the bottom lane, that was sort of a dream scenario for Universe, I think. Going up against the Bristleback Winter Wyvern lane isn't going to put a lot of pressure on you, so you're going to be able to get both that farm and level up on you, and then, you know, TPing around for the kills, participating in them, getting the experience and the shared gold. It's going to be a good game for Universe up until the point where Batrider becomes a threat around the map.
And the Batrider's already been slowed down for sure. As we can see, he's having to rely entirely on stacks, but this one isn't even that much for him.
I think the one downside for this type of style that Old 11 likes to utilize is he really wants to get in the lane and try to make something happen. Sometimes it does feel as though he's forcing it a little bit too much. Instead of being a little bit more patient, allowing Ice to get set up with the creep, it feels like he's jumping the gun a little bit.
Seems like really good for heroes that don't have a very specific item timing like the Batrider does. When he's able to play super aggressive, he's forcing a lot of attention to the top lane, and well, apparently Ice has made a friend.
I can't tell if he's serious, and I'm still not sure why the crowd is like cheering that.
Puppey, what a kind soul. Let's just save the cockroach.
Friend of the animals, the Chen player, no surprise.
Old Chicken and Ice. Another wraparound here for Ice. This time, Smoky up with the mid are going to head to bottom lane now. Unfortunately, they're not going to be able to catch out the Furion, but this will be kind of a real quick surprise push if, yeah, sure enough, Old Chicken pops out of the jungle. Let's loose with that Exorcism, and it may not be that Secret can get anything in return. With the Exorcism already set up, I doubt they can rotate. Maybe they can kill Old 11, though. Go for the Tier 1 after that. Yeah, there it is. The Fury Ult comes in. Once again, Universe displaying his global impact in the game.
The trade-off here, too, is that they had to use the DP ult for bottom, but not that big of a commitment from Team Secret. And on the way, too, they pick up the kill onto the Batrider.
And you gotta ask yourself, is that a questionable play by?
No, Lonham, he's being stunned up. There's so much damage to this Drow Ranger. He gets the save for the Winter Wyvern, but it doesn't matter. The pure damage from the Sunstrike cuts right through.
It's sort of a strategical misplay by Old 11 on the Batrider. All he needs to do is stay back and avoid being killed while they're pushing the bottom lane, because they know the tower isn't contested.
Oh, but he's got the lasso. Ice wasn't actually helping him out, but now he's going to come in. The tower is taken by the Dire, but Artur, oh, he's actually going to be able to get away. The Ice Wall plays, and now the turnaround. They've got the impale onto Old 11. He can't go anywhere. He's so damn slow. And Artur gets the bolt, the best world, and now Secret getting even more. Now Fenrir is going to go down as well. Secret They are hitting so damn fast with this Draw Ranger lineup, just like that. Boom, boom. Tier 1s on both sides, both top as well as mid. Towers in both, or kills in both of these lanes as well. And now Secret even pressuring the Tier 2.
I think these are some minor errors by EHOME because they know that when the catapult comes at top, especially with the Drow being level 6, they're going to want to get aggressive on that area. And the Batrider, I believe the play there is just to Firefly, run away, reset, because you know that the rest of your team has committed fully to that bottom lane. And then to lose a different hero on top of that, it just feels like things are kind of just not shaking up in their favor in the laning phase.
Yeah, individual bad decision making. Also, like, just see the damage output coming out from, for instance, the Nature's Prophet, plus 65. It's as if every ranged hero is running around with a double damage rune. They're really utilizing that, as you were saying, Austin. Pushing down the 2 towers and then just making quick process of the Batrider.
Is this a problem with EHOME's rotations around the map? Are they just not on point here, or are they just getting picked too much that it doesn't matter?
Middle tower is
I think most of it just comes back to the fact that they're maybe just a little bit disconnected. Like, one person wants to make this play, Old 11 wants to try to defend that top tower, but the rest of his team has already committed the Exorcism to bottom. They just have to, maybe it's a communication thing, and they just kind of have to get on the same page.
Yeah, so where did EHOME go from here then, Jacob?
I mean, right now they need to wait for the item timings. They desperately need this blink back up on the Batrider so he can blink in.
Don't tell me he's going to run into that Sunstrike, still sprouted up. He has no way out. Time and time again, Secret outnumbering their opponents and claiming these easy picks.
And see, despite London being the one-position bristleback, he doesn't really have the farm to back up. Like, he's not tanky enough yet. Not at all, actually, with this draw aura. Whereas Artesia has the Midas up and running for him. There's Drums of Endurance on the Nature's Prophet, so they have their first basic item. And the only one that... There's actually no one on EHOME's lineup that boasts anything but boots and a bottle.
Even the Death Prophet getting steadily far behind, and this is not a hero that you necessarily want to have a bad laning phase with. And maybe not behind, but definitely not where she wants to be. More importantly, the Batrider, 10 minutes is coming up, still doesn't have that blink dagger available. And that's just going to slow their timings in general. They're going to go for this smoke. Ice 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 doesn't have the Doom available yet. Thinking maybe they can still get a kill on a Pylite die. But the angle for this even just feels a little bit off.
I mean, the fact that Pylite Die is able to threaten the Death Prophet solo, thanks to global presence of the Sunstrike, they're actually going to be able to come in. Finger of Death goes out. They do have the Cold Embrace, though. Puppey thinking about running in, but he's going to be stopped in his tracks. Fenrir puts a stop to that one, but still, Artur is able to claim that kill. Now the Echo Flame goes out, gets a bit of damage, almost enough to finish off with 11. Artur claims the last hit and moves on to Lanham. Another stun comes through, and another kill for Secret.
And even at the end there, the Winter Wyvern not really sure what to do as Secret just swarm onto that mid lane. No openings available for them at all, as the Doom wasn't even level 6. They didn't have the Blink Dagger on the Batrider, and even more than the 4 kills, it's going to mean an immediate Roshan.
A Roshan in 12 minutes, essentially. I don't see EHOME being able to stop this anyway. Look how fast it's going down.
And it's not just that, right? They have 2 towers down. The score is 12-2, and they're getting this 11-minute Roshan. It's a complete demolishing of Secret right now. They're destroying EHOME.
Not really sure how they're supposed to recover from this position because things have been slowed down dramatically, especially after that mid-fight. The Batrider, who was at 1,500 gold, suddenly another 100 gold behind, and he has to reset the timing because he was dead. Ice, Ice, Ice. Maybe they could have waited for his level 6 before they decided to make that engagement. Instead, he's got to wait for it, and Secret now have pretty firm control of this game.
I mean, EHOME at this point, right, you want to be able to tank up Death Prophet, Bristleback. These kind of heroes thrive on being able to survive longer and longer throughout a team fight and outputting some pretty good damage over time. But it just doesn't seem like that's going to be happening faster than Secret game damage.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Doom in this tournament, but it just hasn't been effective for them at all. He just now turns level 6 with 12 minutes in, and he's been participating in 1 kill. He didn't really offer anything on the top lane. They didn't win the lane. On the contrary, he got all the farm he needed, and Old 11 has had a rough game throughout this, partly because of his own bad decision-making.
Dire's top tower is
Top lane, it looks like EHOME, they want to set up for this, and they know they want to try to get aggressive. They're already cutting behind the tower. Old Chicken hasn't popped the ultimate quite yet, but Secret might just decide to go for the trade as Artesia and Universe are setting up here. Something I want to highlight too, support players just not getting enough credit as Puppey 1-0 at 9. Positioning wise has just been on point this game.
Is under attack.
I mean,
Dyer's
you think of that
structures
earn
are
pickup. He's so
fortified.
rich.
Even when getting stopped in his track by the Winter Wyvern
Dyer's
ultimate in the
top
middle lane, he
tower
gets
has
off a
fallen.
decent Echo Slam that hits on 2 targets in the middle of a creep wave. Something
Radiant's
that shouldn't
bottom
happen.
tower is under attack.
Set up for this bottom push.
See how fast the tower dies.
Fisher into the Sunstrike. Lonham already at half HP, and he didn't even get hit by that Furion ult.
Looks like they're just going to reset, go for this mid-tier 2 tower instead. No reason to all-in commit for that tier 3 at bottom, especially when you've already got firm control of the map.
Animitis is here for Universe, but Secret, despite having some of these big farming items, they're not slowing down one bit. They're going to keep on pushing EHOME out of their comfort zone as they take more of these tier 2 towers. And every single time Lonham shows his face, pushes a little bit too far forward, trying to stop Secret. He feels the combo of this magic damage. Now he's going to be stunned up. The Cold Embrace is only buying him a little bit of time. Puppey starts charging forward, but a really good silence is laid out from Old Chicken. But still, the Finger of Death cuts through the Bristleback once again, and Secret are able to retreat with no losses.
They just haven't been able to get this Bristleback really involved, and whenever he does show up, he's immediately the recipient of a Finger of Death on the other side, or a Sunstrike. They don't have the best ways to save him either. They have the Winter's, the Cold Embrace, and maybe the turnaround Winter's Curse, but Secret have plenty of magic damage to bring him down.
Yeah, and Pilot Eye just patiently waiting for the Cold Embrace. I think he could have actually just fired it off immediately. But look at the farm on all of Secret. The Universe actually opts to pick up a Hand of Midas just to ensure the snowball.
Got the Blink Dagger now on Pilot Die, a fully completed Aghanim Scepter for the Invoker. EHOME, they're going to go for the smoke right now. Probably not exactly the situation where they would want to do it, considering how far behind they are in item timings, but desperate times.
And it really does limit their movement with this tier 1 in the mid lane is still up. EHOME are going to cut through the dire jungle, but we can see Secret just hiding behind their towers. No real chance for EHOME to get the pick off or surprise team fight that they desperately needed to be able to come back.
It almost looked like everybody from Secret, by the way, disconnected because they were just waiting, essentially, because they knew that EHOME was smoked. Nothing was really being farmed. Nobody was showing on the map. They figured, okay, it's better for us to just wait things out. Puppey pings around that tower. They're going to go for the counter smoke of their own as everybody now reveals themselves in this top lane. And a line is being drawn now by EHOME. Maybe they suspect. And this might be an okay opportunity for them as there's only 3 heroes here.
And the ideal situation for them right now is getting that Winter Wyvern ulti put to maximum use, potentially just killing off Puppey or Artesia on the Invoker right away by their own teammates, and then getting Doom on the other important target. And then for them to extend the fight long enough that Death Prophet takes down the still squishy targets of Nature's Prophet and Drow Ranger.
Winter Wyvern does play pretty well into those hands, right? The increased damage from the Drow Ranger is only going to play against them when the Winter's Curse comes in, but we have yet to see a really strong Winter's Curse from Fenrir.
Yep. And they just can't allow themselves to focus on the Invoker right now, because he's the tankiest of all on Secret, and he has that. Oh, okay, the Aegis just expired, so that's now they can start focusing him again, actually. But even then, there's so much disable up on the Lion and the Earthshaker, which is sort of ironic because it's historically a support duo that Lanham especially has gone to throughout EHOME history, tracing all the way back to 2010. This was how the Chinese teams played. They got these 2 heroes that was full of disables and crowd control.
Winter Wyvern pushing out that top lane. Ice. Trying to looks like he's going for the mech, something we don't see often, just because you don't really have the mana pool to support. Maybe even just going for the Vlads and going for the casual buckler probably makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, we saw a lot of the casual buckler from Puppey. Looks like they're going to be able to run into Pilot Die. Oh, no! Quick fingers from Pilot Die allows him to blink back in time.
And Puppey's only 500 gold away from that Blink Dagger.
What do you even do at that point if you're like someone like Death Prophet, who's hoping to be able to get the good exorcism and push out and survive for a while in this team fight? Now there's an opportunity for Seeker when they have that blink to jump on her and instantly blow her up.
Yeah, they've got a lot of gap closing on her, and when you play as a Death Prophet, it's not the best scenario when you've got things that can instantly disable, especially when both supports can have a Hex. Just means that you just need 2 heroes at any phase of the game to get kills. That Universe can just TP in. If an Echo opportunity is set up, for example, Secret, they're going to smoke up behind this Invoker. trying to scout out the jungle and maybe find any way to pick off a hero so that they can go high ground, but it looks like EHOME kind of understand what's going on here.
Oh, the Fisher lands. Beautiful setup from Secret. Whoa. The combination of abilities just allows for them to be able to kill Ice before he even realizes he's dead.
That was fast. I definitely didn't expect them to be able to...
Like 1 second, there's smokes. The next second, Fisher, Sunstrike, and Finger of Death, and he's gone.
It wasn't even like he was terribly out of position. He was barely outside the base, but EHOME just can't really do anything about it. They don't really have any of those counter disables of their own. If you look at the rest of their lineup, they so heavily rely on being able to start the fight rather than being able to counter the fight.
And even if Secret commits their entire lineup for that kill, it doesn't really matter all too much because they force EHOME to be inside of their base. And Universe, of course, on the Nature's Prophet then gets to farm on the top lane, knowing that EHOME needs to stay within their base.
Yeah, exactly. It's just creating pressure all around the map. And this is one of Nature's Prophet's best strengths, is that he can just send summons top. You deal with it, then it opens up a little bit more of the jungle.
I like how nasty Artur farming in the Radiant jungle like this and having his Forge Spirits positioned so far forward. He's even got the Tornado, you know, ready to go just in case. It's like a panic button if EHOME all of a sudden get the jump on him. He still has a way to be able to escape, and they're just getting so much information.
So Secret's plan now is just to constantly have the creep waves on the Radiant side of the map, constantly keeping tabs of where EHOME would be and not allowing them to have any openings through a Bat Rider gank. You see Universe picking up or going for a Aghanim Scepter on the Nature's Prophet. That combined with the Drow Aura is just going to keep the creep waves constantly flowing into the...
Fenrir caught.
To the Radiant base.
It's not even a question. It's not even a question at this point. Is Secret find a hero? There's really no hope for an escape from anybody for EHOME. Now Ice gonna be the one spotted out. Fisher leads the way. Physical damage has no problem keeping Doom down. Old 11 is gonna try and get himself out. Still has the blink, so he will stay ahead of Universe. But Secret, I think they just found the opening required for them to confidently take the tier 2 at top.
Yeah, they've almost got the Blink Dagger now on the Earthshaker 2. Not a whole lot of time left for that one, but right now EHOME trying to do whatever they can, just keep the game going. Maybe wait for Secret to get overconfident and try to go for an ill-advised high ground. But Roshan is up, and it's probably going to be the next objective as soon as they take out this tier 2 tower.
And Secret just playing very disciplined. It's like a systematic dismantling of EHOME. Wherever they go on the map, as soon as they go outside of their base, they're just going to be found by Pilot Eye, and of course Universe always ready on the TP, going in for their second Roshan now.
I know the smokes have failed, but it is a little bit surprising to me that Secret, because they're playing such a control-heavy game at this point, that EHOME aren't like just trying to run at Secret and see what changes. Maybe because at this point we're just looking at that they're being suffocated, right? You've got double the net worth on the Invoker over both the Death Prophet as well as the Bristleback.
Yeah. I mean, with the control and the net worth they have right now, this was just what they needed. They needed to pick up that Aegis in order for them not to overcommit and possibly throw away their lead. And then at the same time, you have Poppy who picks up his Blink Dagger and hits that magical level 11 where Earthshaker's ultimate just becomes even better. So I think they're in full ability to push down the EHOME base, but they don't even need to. Like, that's the biggest thing here. They have the much better late game, they have the much better control, and they're so far ahead that for EHOME to catch up is almost impossible at this point.
Yeah, things are just kind of getting out of hand right now. As the Death Prophet at one point had 1,200 gold, maybe 7 minutes ago on top of that drums. Hasn't really found very many advancement opportunities as they just kind of keep flitting between the lanes, trying to get whatever they can out of the first two camps without going too far away. And look at how much they can farm with impunity because they know there's so much presence on the map for them instantly. If Pilot Die finds something on the map, you just simply stun, get the Sunstrike off, the Nature's Prophet can ultimate. That's a kill every single time.
Now, meanwhile, tier 3s are being chipped away. Universe is only going to amp that up now that he's got the Aghanim Scepter.
I didn't even realize that the score was 16-2, and I believe nothing has really happened in the last few minutes. Both with Old 11 at top, trying to look for something, but
he's got to play kind of that long con where he's going to sit in the trees for a really long time, wait for somebody from Secret to push just a bit too far and try and strike on that opportunity. Unfortunately, we see Secret rotating out as a 3-man crew, and now we're going to cut across to mid.
Would you get impatient and try and force the issue, Will? If you're Secret, do you feel like you're so much in control that you might as well go knocking on the front door?
I mean, they're just taking so much of the map right now that I don't think it matters. They're passively gaining a ton of gold at top. Look again, the
They
combo.
can still get pickoffs. The Sunstrike, is it going to be enough? It is! Oh, man, Arcturus is so far ahead in levels that the damage is too much. Highlight Die is going to be caught. That's the turnaround kill. And you almost have to wonder if that's actually worth it for EHOME, simply because of the fact that Secret are so far ahead.
It is worth it for them. They just got almost 1,000 gold for that kill. I think it's well worth it for them, especially since it's one of those morale boosters too. You pick up a kill, you think, okay, maybe Secret will continue to do stuff like that and they'll trade favorably for us.
They are going to have the mechs, so...
Secret gets like a 5% addition to their kill score, whereas EHOME's was a
that is
drastic
one way to look at
33%,
it.
so...
There's one positive way to look at it. Another positive way. Doom will have a mech quite soon. Increase in sustain, a little bit of armor as well. Should help against some of these right clicks.
But that just tells the tale of this game, right? They have a Doombringer. We are almost 25 minutes into the game and he hasn't completed his first item with his mechanism.
Old 11 scouts out some of these things. Goes for the Seeking Napalm. Going to start pulling back Eternal Envy, but a 3-man Fissure. Now the follow-up 2-man Impale. Highlight Die is going to be doomed up, but everything's all set up for Puppey to come in for the Echo Slam. Lana's going to be run down by Artur. The Furindon comes in, puts Old 11 low enough that they can get that kill as well, and they're just planning to wipe EHOME if possible. There it is, a buyback for the Wyvern, but you can't stop Secret. It'll end on a good old 3-2-2 for game number 1. Gentlemen, what happened? I mean, this was game number 1, but it was such a dominant game number 1 from Secret, who also, you know, actually got taken out in their first series.
RTC actually topped plus 300 damage in that push.
Gentlemen, what happened? I mean, this was game number 1, but it was such a dominant game number 1 from Secret, who also, you know, actually got taken out in their first series. Did Secret step their game up?
Oh,
Is
yeah,
EHOME still looking bad? What happened?
They did step their game up, but also just showing what potential this team actually has.
I think most of it just came down to EHOME just being out of communication. For example, when they flashed the Batrider at top and he hard committed and they were flashing 4 heroes at bottom, they had popped the Exorcism ready. There's no way that they're going to be able to back him up unless they were already in position. But maybe he just misheard or he misunderstood and things kind of just got out of control after they lost that first tower. Then they just started losing heroes across the map. That first mid-engagement where Puppey was able to walk in with the Echo and survive the Winner's Curse.
Yeah, and even before that, where the Batrider actually gets a lasso off in melee range on the Invoker, but then the turnaround because of that Ice Path. It was just, yeah, EHOME not getting anything done other than pushing that bottom tier 1 tower. That was the only success that they had.
All right, well, we'll have a much-needed break for EHOME, and for the rest of us as well, we're going to have a break, and then we'll come back with game number 2 of EHOME versus Secret.
Well, Manila and Dota fans around the world, don't let your memes be dreams as we see the first game end. EHOME taking a tough loss against Secret. Secret looking good. I mean, you know, just one game, but kind of crushes EHOME in that first game. And I mean, was that just off the start? Is that what you would have expected, just given how the beginning kind of started to play out? And as soon as Secret took the lead, you were just like, all right, this is just how it's going to play out for the rest of the game? Or was it just continuous small mistakes on EHOME's part that kept adding up?
I thought the advantage would keep coming after the first 10 minutes or so, definitely. But I think what about Secret? I think they played how everybody expected them to play going into the tournament, and I think EHOME underperformed a little bit what everybody expected. So it looked completely one-sided in that game, and it definitely was. But I think Secret is showing that they're going to play a lot differently today than they did yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, very different result.
I think it's very common you'll see these draw strats get quickly out of control, though, because you get a small advantage in an early game setting, and suddenly you take 1 or 2 towers, and that 1 or 2 towers turns into a Roshan, turns into this 10K gold lead at like 15, 20 minutes in the game. So it's hard to like judge too much from it as far as like, oh yeah, Secret crushed them, but that's what draw ranger strats do. When you get a 5th pick draw ranger in a game where it's perfect, it reminds me of like a Broodmother pick where it was the perfect pick for that scenario where there wasn't really a clear good way of dealing with the hero and just what it offered to the team. So I think Secret put together a great draft, which was what was lacking yesterday.
They also utilized Universe a lot better on the Nature's Prophet, just having him TP around everywhere. I remember yesterday, like he was desperately trying to find a place to use Ravage, and he could never just hook up with his team. I also thought they hit the Death Prophet really early too with the Earthshaker and the Fissure, and she never really got her feet off the ground.
Yeah. They basically used Puppey and Nature's Prophet to gank her a couple times, and then they transitioned into really good ganks from Pylai Dai as well as Sunstrikes from Arteezy.
Yeah, and we'll see a couple of the Sunstrikes come in as we take a look at these highlights. Arteezy, we talked about the Invoker coming in. Don't get to see it too often in competitive play, but you know, he proved that plays it a lot. Proves his worth. You can hear the crowd through the replay through. I mean, there were quite a few moments throughout this game.
A great Fissure into an Earth Spike here. He did get the deny. It was almost worth it, but him dying's not going to make it worth it here. Sunstrike, again, securing so many kills. It was integral towards so many of their kills on the map, even in the later game periods, too.
Secret's rotations were just on point this game. And I think if you look at the one here for EHOME who could have dealt with that or counterplayed it, it's the Doom. We just didn't see like a very active presence coming out from the 4th position Doom, whereas on the side of on Secret, you have this Earthshaker room, you have Nature's Prophet TPing everywhere, you have the Sunstrikes coming in, so Secret were just that much more active.
Even this fight that didn't look amazing for Secret did turn around okay. They had a huge echo slam by Puppey. It's one of the best pre-blink echoes I've seen before. But they're just doing too much damage from the backside, and that's basically Drought Aura. They made Bristleback look like he didn't have Bristleback, the skill.
Yeah, so Secret, I mean, like you guys kept mentioning, I mean, it comes down to the draft, right? If you're going to win, you're going to win in this fashion going forward. But at the same time, then, Ben, I mean, do you, if you're EHOME, do you look at it and say, so we have to change the draft and like make sure this doesn't happen? Like, do you just kind of accept this as fate for the day?
It was a playstyle error. I think they just threw way too many embodies, and they just weren't prepared for the early movement from the Earthshaker and the NP. Like, generally with drought strategies, I think what they had in mind was like, okay, they're going to push, we're going to use Winter Wyvern to defend, Doom will get some levels and go gank the Invoker, maybe get his Doom up, but everything just was way too slow for them. The pace of the game was just not what they expected, they were just not prepared for it at all, and I think they always felt pressure to do something. It's like, oh, if we don't do something, they're just going to push down all their towers and you know, get a lot of gold, and instead they just killed all of them and then took all the towers.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of those were kind of panic moments for EHOME where it's like, well, we kind of have to do something, right? And they jump in and be like, well, now it's gotten worse. And now we definitely have to do something. It just keeps on piling on one after the other. I mean, guys, if you're on the side of EHOME, then where do you go back all the way to the beginning and say, all right, from the draft, let's try to prevent it a little bit and get our heads back together in the game? Or is it just like, hey, it was just some small errors that snowballed out of control, it's fine, just play it as if it's a fresh new game, as if it's game one?
I'd like EHOME to look at just the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game as the kind of the key part where things just slipped away from. I think draft-wise, it wasn't a complete disaster. A draw 5th ban would have made their lives a lot easier, but I think regardless, they had a draft. They picked to their strength. They've been running this Bristleback yesterday as well as leading up to this tournament. Winter Wyvern's been a top pick for them as well. So very much EHOME drafted to their strength. They just didn't play the early game, the laning stage as well as they have in the past.
And I also think that based on how many tanky heroes they picked, that makes it further countered by Draw Ranger. Like, tanky strats are good if they can have just more HP than the damage you do, but Draw gives you so much DPS and it makes all of the strengths of your heroes not actually very good. good. So I think their lineup just got a little countered. Maybe if they had 2 supports with stuns, they could have pressured the Drow and just gone for kills on her. Like 2-3 chain stuns, she dies. But if you try to run tanky heroes up there, it doesn't work as well.
All right, well, we took a look at that game, ended quite in favor of Secret. We'll see if they can continue that momentum after this break when we come back to game number 2 between Secret and EHOME.